Why Black Americans are choosing Ghana over Atlanta. Atlanta used to be the Black Mecca. Now Ghana is taking that crown. There was a time when Atlanta was the undisputed symbol of Black progress in America. It was the promised land for generations of Black professionals, entrepreneurs, artists, and activists who wanted to build something powerful for themselves, by themselves. It had the HBCUs. It had the music scene. It had the political power, Black millionaires, and Black mayors. If you were Black and ambitious, Atlanta was the place to be. But lately, that narrative is shifting. Today, whispers have become conversations, and conversations have become action. A growing number of Black Americans are doing something their grandparents could hardly imagine. They're leaving not just Atlanta, but America altogether. And their destination? Ghana. Yes, Ghana. The West African nation once known to many in the diaspora only through dusty history books and vague references to slavery. But now, Ghana is quickly becoming a real, tangible home for Black Americans searching for something that the United States, even with all its promise, still fails to provide. This isn't just about moving abroad for an adventure or a break from the 9-to-5 grind. This is a full-scale awakening. And it's not temporary. What's happening is a migration, a deeply personal, deeply political decision to step away from the trauma of American life and towards something that feels more whole, more free, and more rooted. The question is no longer why are people leaving? The question is why wouldn't they? Let's talk about the money. In Atlanta, once touted for its affordability, the cost of living has ballooned into something unrecognizable. Rent prices have soared, home ownership is out of reach for many, and gentrification is bulldozing through once thriving Black neighborhoods. In some areas, property taxes alone are pricing out longtime residents. The wealth gap is widening, and even in a city that has long been majority Black, displacement is the reality. By contrast, in Ghana, Black Americans are finding financial freedom. They're buying homes outright without 30-year mortgages. They're starting businesses with a fraction of what it would cost in the U.S., and they're doing it in an environment that's welcoming, not hostile. Many report being able to live a comfortable, even luxurious lifestyle on a modest American income, a lifestyle that would be nearly impossible to achieve back in Atlanta, especially for those saddled with student debt, medical bills, or generational financial strain. But this isn't just about money, it's about peace. In America, being Black means constantly navigating a minefield. Whether it's fearing a routine traffic stop or bracing yourself for microaggressions in the workplace, there's a baseline level of stress that never really goes away. It's the kind of stress that seeps into your bones. It's the kind of stress that wears people down before their time. Atlanta, despite being a symbol of Black empowerment, has not escaped these realities. The city still sees police brutality, racial profiling, and a deepening sense of unease about whether progress in the South is real or just an illusion wrapped in Black political aesthetics. You can have a Black mayor, a Black police chief, and a Black-owned brunch spot on every corner, and still feel unsafe walking home at night. In Ghana, the feeling is different. Over and over again, Black Americans who've moved there say the same thing. For the first time in my life, I'm not thinking about being Black all the time. Imagine that. Imagine walking through a store, down the street, or into a government office and not being followed, questioned, or judged because of your skin. Imagine your children being able to grow up with a sense of security and identity that isn't rooted in trauma or survival. For many, Ghana offers that experience. It offers the ability to exhale. Then there's the matter of legacy, the opportunity to build something that will last. Ghana is open for business. Since the Year of Return initiative in 2019, which marked 400 years since the arrival of the first enslaved Africans in the U.S., Ghana has actively invited members of the African diaspora to return, invest, and reconnect. That invitation hasn't gone unnoticed. Black Americans are buying land, opening schools, building wellness retreats, launching tech startups, and creating jobs, not just for themselves but for locals too. This is more than relocation. This is reclamation. For centuries, Black Americans have had to build and rebuild, only to have their progress stolen, sabotaged, or erased. From Black Wall Street in Tulsa to the neighborhoods overtaken by highways and developers, history has shown that Black prosperity in America is always under threat. But in Ghana, there's a sense that what you build can last, that you can leave something behind that won't be bulldozed or gentrified out of existence. There's also the matter of dignity. In Ghana, Black Americans are discovering a version of themselves untouched by centuries of racial degradation. They're not seen as minorities. They're not seen as threats. They're seen as family. They're often called Obruni, foreigner, but not with contempt, more often with curiosity and welcome. They're relearning what it means to exist without the psychological warfare that comes with being Black in America. And then there's culture. In Atlanta, you might find a solid Juneteenth celebration, a good soul food joint, or a church that feels like home. But in Ghana, culture is not curated for special occasions. It's alive, constant, and everywhere. From traditional drumming ceremonies to royal festivals, from wearing kente cloth not as fashion but as heritage, from speaking your ancestors' language instead of just tracing your DNA. It's all there. Real, living history. For many, visiting Cape Coast or Elmina Castle, where enslaved Africans were held before being shipped to the Americas, is a sacred, soul-rattling experience. It puts the entire African-American experience into perspective. It reframes centuries of pain as a story that didn't begin with chains, but with kingdoms, with lineage, with identity. That kind of restoration isn't just emotional, it's transformational. To be clear, Ghana isn't perfect. There are real challenges: bureaucracy, infrastructure, healthcare systems that differ vastly from the U.S., and the complicated dynamics of being a diaspora returnee in a country that has its own struggles. But for many Black Americans, those challenges are manageable, especially when compared to the trauma they've grown used to back home. This is not an indictment of Atlanta. Atlanta will always be a beacon in Black American history. It gave us Outkast and MLK, HBCU pride, and entrepreneurial hustle. But it is also a city that has become increasingly expensive, increasingly tense, and increasingly disconnected from the very people who once made it magical. The new Black Mecca may not be in the South. It might be across the Atlantic, where the sun rises over red clay roads, where ancestral memories are buried beneath baobab trees, and where a new generation of Black people is choosing presence over survival. Ghana is not just a country, it's a possibility. And more Black Americans are deciding that it's a possibility worth pursuing. Legal disclaimer: this essay is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It does not constitute immigration, legal, financial, or professional advice. Readers are strongly encouraged to do independent research and consult qualified professionals before making any international relocation or investment decisions.